HBCU game day, and it is game week, and we are here with a coach who is ready to kick it off on week 0. Head coach Willie Simmons of the FAMU Rattlers headed to Chapel Hill to take on the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Coach, it seems like the season just ended, and when the season ends, it seems like it's a long time to the next season, but all of a sudden we're here.
Yeah, that's typically how it works. The off season kind of drags on. You're just so anxious to get back to practicing, working with the guys. And then the moment you start training camp, you look up and it's game week. And so we've had a really good training camp. I think the guys have done a great job of really trying to buy into what we're doing here. And we're looking forward to this opening game week against the Tar Heels, and couldn't be more excited to lead this program.
Well, Coach, after training camp, when you first get in training camp, I saw, and you've said that you worked on skills. But at some point you turned to the University of North Carolina and preparing for North Carolina. What are you expecting out of the University of North Carolina this year?
Well, obviously, being that I've had the opportunity to watch them over the last few years, I'm an avid ACC fan. Being that I played my collegiate career at Clemson, they're a very dynamic team, a lot of speed. They want to play fast on offense, get their playmakers the ball in space. Josh Downs is one of the top receivers in the country. They just settled on the quarterback, Drake May, a big pocket passing quarterback. So I expect them to try to push the ball down the field, get the ball on the perimeter, establish the run. That's one thing that people probably take for granted. They run the ball extremely well. And so they pose a lot of challenges with their tempo, with their ability to get the ball to their best players. And so the Dark Cloud defense will definitely have his hands full. And then defensively, they're kind of changing their identity a little bit. Brought in Coach Warren from Indiana. Coach Chiswick, is the head coach of the defense. Coach Thigpen has been there, but now he's the co-defense coordinator as well. So just interested to see what they'll be on defense, what their base fronts will be, base coverages, base pressures. And as the game goes, we'll kind of hopefully settle them down and figure out what they're going to do. But in the meantime, we've kind of had to prepare for everything.
Coach, playing games where FBS schools play FCS schools, it often is seen as something different according to which institution you're at. But you have kind of said when the pros come, they want to see what our student athletes do against players at that level. So people like Isaiah Land and Jamari and Xavier Smith, they get their opportunity to show pro scouts what they can do on the highest level.
No question about it. Obviously we play these type of games every year. I've been at this level now 10 years, and all of the guys that have had the opportunity to play professional football, a lot of the scouts reference those big games. You look even last year, the guy like Jacoby Durant from South Carolina State. When the scouts came here to talk about our guys, Marquise Bell and the other guys we had, when I asked them about Jacoby, the first thing they mentioned was that he had 2 interceptions versus Clemson. And I think that Darius Leonard, when they talked about Darius Leonard, it was how many tackles he had versus Clemson. I think he had 18 versus Clemson. So when you can go and show that you belong on the field, so to speak, with Power 5 programs, it really, really gives those NFL scouts a little bit more of an added incentive to go in and stand on the table for you with their personnel to say, hey, look what this guy did against a Power 5 program. So we've seen him dominate at the FCS level, but he had a stellar game against an ACC opponent. And it definitely helps those guys draft prospects, and that's why we again dubbed this game a get money game, and not just a money guarantee game.
Yeah, and we've seen the history of that. We go back to just Earl Holmes. I mean, he played the University of Miami his senior year, and Butch Davis, one of his comments after the game is, "We just couldn't block Earl Holmes."
Right.
So that was one of the things that propelled him into the next level. Well, Coach, unlike last year where it was kind of up in the air until the day before, basically. Watching training camp, it appears that Rashawn McKay is QB1 unless his position was taken. And we've seen some good play from Jeremy Musa, Cameron Sapp at times, Junior Meritovic at times. But we're expecting to see Rashawn line up with take the first snap on Saturday.
Well, he will play. Whether he'll take the first snap or not, that still remains to be seen. We have another couple of days of preparation, and we'll name a starter tomorrow. And okay. But again, I firmly expect Rashawn to play. I expect Jeremy to play. Both those guys will take early snaps and meaningful snaps. And then with Junior and Sapp, they're kind of in the plans down the line to possibly get in the game as well. But Jeremy and Rashawn have both had phenomenal training camps. Both guys have earned the right to play. And we tell the team in the beginning of the training camp, the best guys will play, and they've both shown that they're two of our best players that we have on this football team, and they'll both get their opportunity to go in against Carolina. And depending on what happens through the flow of the game, that may determine who starts the rest of the season, or or whether we have to play a 2-quarterback system.
Okay, and Coach, defense is coming back. It's looking as strong as ever, possibly even better than last year with the pieces that you've added. Just talk about some of those new guys who've come in. We're familiar with the Isaiah Lands and the DJ Bowler, but there are several, and 27.
Fagan.
And Darius Fagan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I drew a blank there. But we're familiar with those guys. But name some of the new guys that will be lining up in orange and green that could play a factor in bolstering the defense.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Of course, Isaiah Land's a household name. BJ's on most All-American, All-Conference list. Darius Fagan's been a staple in this defense for a few years now. General Hunt, obviously it was a guy last season that turned a lot of heads as a redshirt freshman. But you look at a guy like Isaiah Major, a linebacker that we signed from Independence Community College out in Kansas. He's all over the field. He's going to be disruptive in playing the run, playing in coverage, rushing the passer. He's a ball hawk. He finds a way to get around the football, and good things happen. The football guys reward guys like that. So he's had probably as many interceptions as some of the defensive backs, with how he flies around the ball. So excited to see what he can do. James Ash is another guy transferred from Wake Forest, who may start on the defensive line for us, opposite Isaiah Land at the defensive end position. And James has had a great camp and doing some really, really good things. And then a new surprise, a guy that really just kind of got here a few days ago, Anthony Dunn, a young man who transferred in from Marshall University as a really young guy, as a freshman, but shows a lot of promise on that defensive line. So just continuing to add depth on the defensive lines, really just trying to make sure we can continue to roll guys in. And when you play a team like Carolina that's going to play up-tempo, try to get a lot of snaps, the more depth you have at the defensive line position, I think the better you give yourself a chance to hold up against a high-powered offense.
And you're going up against a coach who is a household name, who's built programs, been around for a long time. What's your approach to coaching against a coach of that caliber?
Well, obviously, I look forward to the pregame talk at midfield. I grew up watching Mac Brown, idolizing kind of what he was able to do. Took a North Carolina program and made it a national football brand. It was already a basketball brand nationally, but what he was able to do there in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, he made North Carolina become a national brand in football as well. And then obviously we all know what he did at the University of Texas, bringing the first national championship to Austin in a long time. And so he's a phenomenal coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Again, his record speaks for itself. But again, it gives me great motivation to go in and try to match wits with one of the best coaches of our generation. And our coaching staff is excited about that opportunity to go up and show that we can coach football too.
Well, Willie, final question, and I got to get a little personal. Will you be wearing your Jake Gaither t-shirt under your polo on Saturday?
I just might. Again, trying to get one with all the legends on it. So if anyone knows someone making shirts with Jake, Rudy, and Billy Joe and Joe Taylor on it, and even William Bell, if you can find a picture of them. But just want to pay respect to the GOATs of this program of Black college football. And wearing that shirt the first day, man, it gave me just a sense of pride that I don't think words can describe. And so just want to honor those guys and hopefully relive some of the magic that those guys made during their heyday.
All right, head coach Willie Simmons here at Florida A&M University, getting ready to take on the University of North Carolina Tar Heels in Chapel Hill, followed the following week by the highly anticipated Orange Blossom Classic. From HBCU Game Day, I'm Vaughn Wilson for head coach Willie Simmons.